Before we begin today's episode, I want to shout out Sage EF Coaching for being my first supporter on Buy Me a Coffee. Thank you so much. This really excited me when I got the notification. If you want to join Sage and support me, link will be in the description. Now, on to the episode. Hi, I'm Alani. I'm Black, female, and neurodivergent, aka I lost the genetic lottery. The only thing I could do is pull myself up by my bootstraps and live whatever life takes me. If anyone deserves to profit from my trauma, it's me. That's the life of a Neurospicy Black girl. Welcome to Neurospicy Black Girl. Today, I got two Neurospicy Black girls with me, and I'm so excited! So across from me from this table, we have Elisabeth Rogers and her daughter, Hailey. Elisabeth Rogers is a first-time author promoting her new book, The Seed. And I'm so excited to welcome her and her daughter to the room. So, hi, Elisabeth. Hey, Hailey.
Hi. I'm so excited to be here, Alani. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, thank you both for coming. So, Elisabeth, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like what you do?
As Alani said, I am a first-time author, so that was just recently accomplished this past 2024. And what I do for a living, something that brings in the income, is office manager at an Upper East Side doctor physician's office. I manage about 4 or 5 individuals from everything. I do a little bit of everything there, which coincides with my life and and how I navigate with my children and being a creative. I also have 2, one which is with us today, but I have 2 beautiful humans, and they take a lot of my time as well as try to raise them. That's a little bit about myself.
Hailey, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Hi. I'm Hailey. I'm 21 years old. I take care of my brother sometimes. I do have a schedule, so I meditate, I read audiobooks, and I journal, and I get myself going instead of being like
unmotivated or...
Yes, it's motivation for me to keep going.
You have like hobbies or anything like that?
I used to draw, I used to like Scrabble and do little things here and there.
Nice. You currently in school?
Not right now, but soon.
Cool.
Thinking upcoming spring, more maybe fall 2025, with getting just more familiar with where we're trying to go. I think Hailey has been spending some time self-reflecting, especially with the book. Using that as a tool to take the time to get more acquainted with her emotions and how to regulate as well, like we will be discussing today.
Yeah, and actually, thank you for saying that. I think that's a good segue to talk about your book. Tell us, why did you decide to write a book in the first place?
Wow, that's a real starter there, Alani. It came from all the questions that I was having, unanswered questions. That's where it really started. I had so many questions about why we were here, what was our purpose, how to manage, and what was true happiness. And also just observing all the difficulties that I saw around me, not only personally with my children, with their emotional well-being, but with my peers and family members. Just how difficult it was to have those conversations around how you felt and, your mental state of mind and the things that you wanted to accomplish and do. It just was so heavy. And no one really seemed to have any answers on how we can change the narrative of this story. It just seemed like an incessant, ongoing, there's a problem, we're complaining about the problem, but nobody's doing anything. So the book was really what I want to call it is a solution to the problems that I believe has arisen in our society today, where we're overstimulated and dysregulated and confused about how to, navigate without being overwhelmed all the time. So I wanted to provide answers. To answer your question, I wanted to provide answers to those who are, curious to do that deep dive and ask yourself those hard questions. What do you want? How are you feeling? Why do you feel that way? And provide some type of direction.
Like, how was the process of writing this book? I'm guessing you asked Hailey, and you have another child, right?
I do have he's my youngest. She's my oldest. He is a nonverbal communicator, so he's on the autism spectrum, and we communicate more so through nonverbal cues like body language and facial expressions and gesturings is usually our form of communication, other than love and affection, because that's so important. So, yes, they did inspire me. Deep diving into trying to understand their emotional struggles was the catalyst to me really trying to get to the bottom of everything. How were they thinking? Why were they responding that way? What was showing up in the behavior? Just to get a better understanding so that I can help implement some structure. And then also soothe them, because that was a big issue as well. And I think self-soothing is kind of difficult when you're when you're viewing things differently with your brain and how you're perceiving information, right? Right. So that was a big challenge for me for quite some time, especially when my son was in his earlier stages of development, because there was a lot of self-injurious behavior that was showing up based on the lack of comprehension and frustration that he was exhibiting, through the course of growing and learning and trying to understand the things that were around or happening around him. I wanted to take all of that and put it in something where it was instructions to highlight the difficulties and how to manage it.
Now I want to turn to Hailey. So Hailey, you're neurodivergent, right?
Yes.
So could you, if you don't mind, would you mind disclosing what is your condition, and can you tell me what's your life growing up as a neurodivergent, as a neurospicy black girl to be specific? You feel like your brain operates differently compared to, I would say, your peers or your other family members?
Yes. My brain does operate differently from my peers and family members.
What is growing up when your brain is operating differently? How was that like for you?
It's hard. It was challenging. I didn't understand it at first or what it was. So I had help and guidance to really deep dive in what my brain was going through.
I believe the IEP meetings that we was conducted when we first figured out that there was an issue or that she required a little bit more of a processing and a breakdown of comprehension when it came to reading and her studies and following instruction. That's when we realized that there was something that needed to, be looked at a little bit more under the microscope. How was she comprehending language, the things of that nature? And it took some patience and a lot of repetition And a consistent showing up of I'm going to do the work, even if it's challenging. I'm going to show up and I'm going to try, even though I don't feel like I'm doing a good job, because I think that a lot of individuals who are suffering from processing things differently or not taking it in as quickly as it's given, like when someone asks you a question and you have to sit down and really think about the process of, what was said? What does it mean? What are they asking me? How do I formulate it in my response in a sentence? All of those processes that happen in your brain, in a neurodivergent brain, sometimes happens, backwards and forwards, and it's difficult to have that clarity if it's new. Right? It's the challenge is when it's new that you really have to sit down and take your time, but then you feel rushed. The anxiety of not knowing exactly what is supposed to be given, then you feel like you self-doubt, and then you end up shutting down or dissociating during those times, I feel. So that's what I've experienced with observing Hailey over the years, that trying to figure out exactly where the curvature lies and how she perceives things, breaking things down step by step, has been our way of improving over the years.
So did Hailey get diagnosed while she was still a child or after?
It was very early on, a little later than I believe for my son. My son was diagnosed when he was 1. So when it came to Hailey, we didn't see the signs right away. And this is definitely something that we hear now going forward with autism being such at an all-time high and at the forefront of our society. It took a little bit more of the testing and the conversations to see that there was a little bit of a delay, and that not only was she comprehending things just a little bit differently, but she also had, the stigma of, not being perceived by her peers, so she was also a little bit scared to have those conversations about not understanding. So that made it a little bit more harder for us to diagnose. So I want to say around 7 or 8 is when I really started okay, well, let's get more structured. Let's try to engage a little bit more and think outside of the box on how we can improve how you're interpreting things. Is it learning through audio? Is it learning through, pictures and visuals? Is it the language that we're getting mixed up in and lost in translation? So that was also a process.
Now, Hailey, before the seed was created, did you feel like you had resources to go to, especially when you're learning more about, being neurodivergent, especially being neurodivergent and Black too?
I did have resources. I searched things up. I wanted to learn more about my issue. It was helpful. It was kind of scary to search stuff up about myself. It was very oh my God. So, but I did find it very helpful, and I learned so much about myself.
And with your mom's new book, did you provide any personal insights into helping your mom develop this book?
Of course.
Yeah, can you give an example?
Yes, I did.
I want to say I think her helpfulness came in when I was asking if the material resonated with her. So her point of view and her feedback after I would create the pages, because each page within the book has something different to offer, whether it is a question or, a breakdown or a highlight or something to identify with, or a quote, or an instructional guide. It was something that I would relate to her and see if there was an understanding that I didn't have to over-explain. See how she took it in, and then also if she thought that it was going to be perceived well by others her age. So she was my young adult feedback, pretty much how I was able to come up with the okay of the vision. You know, the things that I was putting in there, the self-care methods, how boundaries are created, the different concepts that was in there. I would always run it by her to see if it was too terminology filled where little children wouldn't be able to grasp the concept. And if she was able to respond also by giving me her way of feeling about it. So if there was something in there about, do you understand why you suppress your feelings, which is one of the questions in there, and how it affects your body, I would ask her these questions to see if this would stimulate some type of answer and reaction within her to definitely deep dive within herself about.
Now, going to the book, I took a peek of the book. Also, since it's an audio podcast, so I'll describe it. So when you go into the book, there's a lot of illustrations, lots of colors and stuff. I wanted to know, why did you decide to go that route instead of like a traditional self-help book, like chapter book with no pictures and all that?
First of all, the self-help books that I was reading as I was doing my own self-journey and then just accumulating more knowledge in how to teach this to others and perfect my craft, I noticed that it was very difficult to concentrate because it was just a big block of information. Now, when I think about that, when it comes to children and young-minded individuals, they would want something to be vivid and, and pronounced and jump out at you it's eye-engaging for you to stay engaged, for you to stay interested in what's going to happen on the next page, because I believe that if it was too traditional, the contents of the information that I'm given would have been lost and the message wouldn't have been received as well. This kind of opens it up for individuals to be a little bit more curious from the imagery that I implemented inside.
So what is your target audience, and do you feel like the images are good for, or at least present well to your target audience?
My target audience is teens to young adult. So that's anywhere from the pubescent age of 13, 14, when you're just entering the pivotal time in your life, high school, and then all the way to carry you into, another pivotal moment when you enter in college and adulthood. And I believe that this is the time where you really self-reflect on, self-identity, who you are, who you want to be, comparing yourself to your peers, and then trying to make decisions. Decision making is during this time where you have more of an autonomy. Now you have more of an opinion for yourself. You have your ways of doing things, and you want to really make a stance and separate yourself. This is when you're really trying to come into, well, what am I good at? What do I enjoy doing? Who are my group of friends and things of that nature? The relationships that you have around you is really defined around this time. You might have a bestie that's, come with you from elementary to middle school. These are the things that are generally happening at this time. And I think that that's the most pertinent time where you need to get in there before anything severe happens that you're not emotionally capable of handling comes into play, and then you fall down a downward spiral of self-loathing and self-doubt and a lot of anxiety and overstimulation.
Now, a huge focus in your book is the concept of emotional intelligence. Could you explain or describe emotional intelligence? I feel like that's a term that people may know what it is, but they don't really know, if that makes sense.
This is the basis of the book, is to raise emotional intelligence. And this is like, I want to say, the beginning of change, because once you're able to identify how you're feeling within yourself and then be able to manage it, where you're putting control and discipline into play, where you're ignoring certain urges or things that you know that are bad for you and focusing on doing things that can improve you or that you know is good for you. Very difficult for people to identify with, but once you get the hang of it, this is going to improve how you behave, right? Because the thoughts that you have about yourself are going to improve when you're doing things that are beneficial for yourself, right? So it's the identity, the management, and the deeper understanding that you have that's going to generate the compassion and the empathy that you'll have for your peers, your friends, and your family members, right?
Right.
The emotional intelligence, there's so many benefits to it. It's good communication skills. It's learning how to communicate how you're feeling. It's being more of a team player. There's so much that comes from you taking the time out to really understand what's going on instead of suppressing it or just reacting. And I do believe that is the self-awareness that you obtain with understanding yourself enables you to move through life with a little bit more ease and understanding. So I think that that's so important.
Hailey, so can you tell me your experience with emotional intelligence, like throughout your daily life?
I struggled with my emotions, so it was kind of hard for me to express myself to anyone who asked me. So it was a bit challenging. I would shut down or say vague answers to people who ask me, "Oh, how you're feeling?" or "What's going on?" It was very hard to express myself without getting judged. That was the biggest one for me, was getting judged by somebody.
Why do you feel like it was hard for you?
Because of it's just the judging. It was a lot of "Oh, you feel this way. Why do you feel that way?" or "You're not allowed to feel that way," or something like that. It was kind of playing that back in my mind. So I just hold all my feelings in. It was like a big bubble just full of thoughts and feelings.
Maybe we should put on record that having someone that you can talk to increases your emotional intelligence, because you're able to talk out loud and hear the thoughts that you've been telling to yourself to someone else that can guide you on why you might be feeling that way and to explore those feelings in a different perspective. So we, I want to say about 2 years ago, looked up a online therapy so that she can receive treatment to speak to someone that was not within the family or anyone that she feel that would be biased to her feelings. And I encourage that with mental health, in order for you not to just take this book and to just jump on feelings and think that you know everything. This is just a starter kit. This is the seed. That's why it's called that. It's just to plant those thoughts so that you can build from that. And having someone to talk to or journaling is definitely important in your growth.
A big thing about emotional intelligence, especially with neurodivergent people, is that comes with self-regulation. A big part is also boundaries. How do you describe boundaries, and how do you teach to implement them?
Boundaries are the guidelines that we set to make it clear to other individuals outside of ourselves what's comfortable and what's uncomfortable. It's what you're willing to accept and tolerate, and a huge thing to recognize is that with boundaries might come a little discomfort. I think that that's something that we tend to avoid, and that's why most of us were not exhibiting boundaries for a long period of time. Most individuals struggle with this. I want to say the number 1 out of the 4 trauma responses is people pleasing, and usually at the top of that is not having any boundaries, not knowing when it is okay to stand up for yourself and voice a no, or this might be too much, or making clear that this is overwhelming for you, and staying true to that. What I suggest is to make it clear when it comes to your emotional boundaries, time and energy that you spend with someone, your possessions, and also your physical and mental. That's also there as well, because you'll have individuals that will talk to you in a way that hurts your mental health or how you feel about yourself. Mm-hmm. So that's something that you have to protect. And then you'll have the physical of, you're too close, or you're too touchy, or you're violating my space, mm-hmm. right? Then you have those types of boundaries. By setting and communicating clear expectations, right? You're enabling and prioritizing your own needs, mm-hmm. which help you to build trust for yourself. So boundaries are so important. And everyone wants to have that acknowledgement that you're going to feel safe. That's how you're able to have better communication.
Mm-hmm. So, Hailey, what do you think? What was your experience with expressing yourself as you grow older? Would you say it got a bit better after learn more about yourself?
Yes, 100%. It did get a lot better because, like my mom said, I did have therapy, and it was very helpful for me. It taught me to be more open, not afraid. So I finally slowly come out of that comfort zone. So it's like baby steps for me.
Mm-hmm. And what about boundaries?
Boundaries taught me so much. Honestly, it taught me a lot, and it made me feel comfortable enough to step out of that uncomfortable state of mind when I didn't have boundaries. But now I do. Now I'm like, okay, this is my boundary, respect it.
Well, what example of a boundary that you think that you've set for something or someone recently?
Okay, it was one of my family members. He was hugging me a lot, and I felt very uncomfortable. I would tense up. I would have a weird, a tense face in me, and I was I didn't really know how to say it because I was thinking about his feelings, mm-hmm. and if I say this, how he's gonna react to it, how he's gonna take it. So it took me a while to sit down. Instead of me talking to him face to face, I would just write it down on paper. I'll sit down and really write and edit, make sure that makes sense, that he understands it. This is what I want, and I want you to respect it either way. Mm-hmm. So I gave it to him. He read it, and I was like, okay, now let's just see if he's gonna, respect it and go from there. And he did, and I'm so grateful that he understood my boundary and what I wanted. So now I feel more comfortable and less tense.
Proud of you. Props to you. Thank you.
Because that can be very,
Yeah.
it can be very difficult
Yeah.
to let others know what makes you uncomfortable. Because, like she said, you're constantly in people-pleasing mode where you're trying to make sure that the other person feels comfortable before you tend to your own needs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a people-pleaser definition is.
Yeah.
So, in regard to being brave enough to say, hey, I know that you like this, but I don't like this. And if we could have some type of understanding where you don't do this anymore, that would be greatly appreciated. And that's hard sometimes. But given that you put it in practice, I think that's another thing too. You practice not only with yourself, but you practice in different situations with different people. You put it out there, because if you don't stand up for yourself, who will?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right.
Key right there. So this book has been out for a while. Can you tell me any feedback that you received that made you go, oh, interesting, or have any profound reaction for that matter?
I had this book made me look at myself differently. And I believe that was it in a nutshell, what I wanted to. The whole purpose was to shift your perception, to see things a little differently. Either it's going to clarify some things for you that you've been struggling with and you could not identify for yourself, but my explanation gave you some type of clarity, and now you're able to make a change, or you can, put your awareness on it to work on it or eliminate it altogether. And this individual express that after reading the material, that he was able to see himself in a different way, and that made him feel less judgmental about himself. Aww. And that's a beautiful thing. Because I think that most suffer with judging ourselves so highly, with these high expectations that are unrealistic when you're in that survival mode of constantly trying to do so much and compare, and with what society right now is making it difficult to even stop and relax and enjoy yourself. Mm-hmm. It's on this rat race of just go, go, go. And I think that's where a lot of the emotions get, suppressed or left behind and unaddressed. Mm-hmm. So having him say that, and this is an older gentleman too, so this is way out of the targeted age group, but just having this individual say, I read this book and it changed how I saw myself, was the best feeling. And I'm hoping that that's how everyone feels, that there's some type of enlightenment, something, a light switch goes off and you're able to have that peace for yourself.
This book existed when you were a kid. Would you say the same thing would happen to you?
I would have hoped so, because honestly it did. It happened now when I was making the book. In present time, I spent months, I want to say maybe a total of 18 months of really evaluating psychology, neuroscience, human behavior, child development, all to put it all in one for you. Mm-hmm. And my mantra was to be the person that I needed when I was younger. Mm-hmm. So I definitely wanted this when I was growing up. I would have loved to have some type of instruction or guidance. I joked as an adult when I had my own children that they should come with an instruction manual someone should let you know how you're supposed to take care of them consistently so that you do a good job. I definitely would have wanted this growing up, and that's my thought process while I was making it. How is this going to help somebody? I'm hoping that the shift creates the conversations that is the catalyst to your self-discovery.
And Hailey, what was your reaction when your mom announced the book, while she was making it, and like after? Like, can you tell me the whole timeline?
I was so happy and so proud of my mother for achieving her goal and being the author that she is. And it's going to help a lot of people, and it's definitely helped me 100%. And I'm just so happy for her.
I hope she saw how it helped me. I mean, like I said, I was evolving while I was writing because there was so much that I was learning about myself while trying to make it clear for somebody else to understand. And, you know, being able to influence someone that you've never met is what I intended with this book. To be able to give you a little touch of my nurturing by nature attitude and wanting to be able to be like a big sister or a nice hug, a reassurance that, hey, it's going to be okay if you just do a little bit for yourself each day, like that type of mentality, a growth mentality. And it definitely changed. It changed me. And by evolving, I saw how everyone around me also really wanted to jump on that bandwagon and evolve with me. And I noticed how it was emulating through my behavior, you know, showing up a little different way, you know, more patience, more kindness, and more understanding and active listening. You know, listening to what was really going on underneath the behavior, which is in the book as well, getting to the root of the emotion and not just judging for the behavior that's showing up, because the anxiety is not you. Right? Yeah. That's coming from a deeper space. You know, the loneliness is not you. That's coming from somewhere else. The frustration isn't you. These are just things that you're feeling, but they're based on something that you can get to the root of and help to work on it so that you can feel better about your life and yourself.
Speaking of sister, so Hailey, how would you say the book re-examined your relationship with your brother?
Oh my God, so well. And it's me and him have a great relationship. It's amazing. And I'm learning more and more about him as I go and understanding him and what he's going through, and just that he is a human being and that I just have to accept what he is and that he's my brother at the end of the day.
And how about you, Liz, with your younger son?
I think we were always... because I've been doing this for such a long time, being immersed in this community. Again, he was diagnosed when he was 1 year old, and he's now currently 16. So I've had years of experience with IEPs and neurology appointments and ABA sessions and speech therapy, occupational therapy, all the types of therapies I've been involved in, and learning what it looks like, the process, you know, reevaluating what works, trying different methodologies and things of that nature has just been a trial and error, a learning, a journey, and we're really just open to how everyone shows up a little differently. And to our best understanding, we want to make sure that he has love and support and a team around him that is rooting for him to be, one, his authentic self, two, to be able to communicate his needs without necessarily having someone tell him, right? And trying to, what it gets lost in translation when it comes to his behavior, trying to align his behavior with what he's feeling on the inside, and being able to have him articulate that himself. That's our goal for him. But the book allowed me to see the importance of gratitude, because that was also something that I've put in there, the self-care and how important that is, to be able to give to my son and my daughter, to be able to provide that loving environment is so important, that you take care of yourself. And that was something that I learned along the way. What does self-care look like? What does, do you trust yourself? What does self-love look like? These things that I put in there as little tidbits of advice to work on yourself is going to change how you show up with everyone.
So, looking to the future, so this is your first book. What is your plans for how you're going to expand upon the seed, or are there any plans for another book?
My goal, as I currently work on school curriculum, to see if I can get that taught as an extra curriculum during the after school programs, or if we can implement it during the day, where there's a time where we address how we're feeling so that we're not overlooked and unseen, right? And I believe that breaking down what emotional intelligence is, how it benefits your life, and then self-concepts and these things that we really should put awareness on to help us understand ourselves better. I believe that can be taught to increase and foster better relationships with the general community. And that's what I'm promoting right now, speaking with school officials and community centers and teachers and parents as well, so that not only the children can benefit it, but it also is a communication with the parent as well, because this language that is developing wasn't spoken in the household when I was growing up. We did not talk about emotional intelligence and self-awareness and cognitive distortions and things of this nature. This is fairly new to me. And having those moments where we were intimate and vulnerable did not exist in the last generation. It was very difficult for us to have those uncomfortable talks. So this is where this book comes in, to be able to bridge the gap between what our parents feel like is going on and what we actually are feeling without having the language to communicate it to them. This is what I believe is going to be a powerful tool to get them to repair that relationship.
Right.
And then make individuals that are growing up, that's going out there into the world and being more successful, but also mentally stable.
So do you plan on making it a workbook, making it a blog? How are you gonna expand? With the curriculum, I would turn some of the pages into a workbook. That is definitely something that I've been thinking about, as well as doing workshops to have that conversation with other individuals that is willing to explore how they're feeling. So to have them come in to talk about their emotions, where they're at, or what struggles they have, and what they want for themselves, and seeing if that can get them motivated to do better. And do you plan on creating more books that expand upon different, like, for example, like one that's more geared towards girls, as neurodivergence presents differently in girls and boys, more geared to boys, like things like that.
So I opened it up so that it didn't fall specifically under any classification or label, so no one felt not included. It's an exclusive thing. Now, I know that your podcast is geared toward the spiciness of your brain, but this is definitely expansion across the board. You know, emotions, again, as I stated earlier, are not gender bias. Emotions, anger, self-doubt, fear, this belongs to everyone that has these experiences. How you process it would be definitely different, as the variations are, we take in our information differently. But being able to identify it and highlight how emotions appear for us would give us some type of clarity, so that how we can move better without having it be overwhelming and jarring to us.
So you're pitching this book to to everybody in this case.
To schools,
Yeah.
to community centers. For the most part, that's the spaces that I feel like would be able to reach the community and the targeted audience, which is children. I'm also thinking of doing maybe a book review at the library, so that we can have like an open table, have that conversation as well. Let's talk about what's going on with us internally and how it's showing up in our external world, so that we can have a little bit more control and understanding. That's what the book is here for.
What is the one key takeaway you hope readers would gain from the seed?
That you have more control than you believe you do in what's going on in your reality. It's on a deeper level, and I do believe that this generation is understanding that the more you suppress, the more the urge for it comes to the forefront, where it's even more confusing. And in order for us to eliminate some of the confusion and feel a little bit more at ease and peace with our decisions that we're making, we would need to have that conversation with ourselves. Oh, what are we doing to feed these things to ourselves, and what can we do to make structure and make it a little bit better for ourselves? And that's a choice. A lot of these things are not known, even though it's kind of simple and obvious, but that's what the seed is here for. It's here to make it very easy, understandable, and obvious what the issues could be if you align with it, and how to do something about it. It's the what, the why, and the how.
How about you, Hailey? Like, what would you say is the key takeaway from the book? If you give this book to a friend, and you're trying to recommend it to him, what would you say is like the best thing about this book?
It's going to help you with your mental health and how you think about yourself and how you perceive yourself, and going to help boost your confidence more if you have any like self-doubt about yourself or anybody else.
Now, Liz, where can we find the seed, and are there any other platforms that we can help support your work?
Oh, thank you so much, Alani. Well, right now it's currently on Amazon for you to purchase. It's at a very affordable price, because I believe right now the focal point is to get the message and the conversation started, right?
Right.
So I've made sure that I put it at the lowest price point. This is not about that. Let's just emphasize that. But it's on Amazon, readily available. And you can also reach out to explain.emotions@gmail.com to discuss other things, that your feedback, or if you want to have those deep dive conversations, because the whole point is to build a community where we're fostering the type of mindset that we want to be helpful and kinder and more patient with the differences that we see that show up in individuals. No one is perfect. We're here to have a good experience and to connect and to create. So why not do that together? It's more fun together, right? So once you decide that you want to get on to this journey to a better understanding of yourself, you can reach out. You can also look me up at Unicorn Energy. That's my IG tag, so that we can vibe together.
Both of you have any future projects that you want to promote?
Other than collabing with schools, that's the only focus point. What you need to know as a neurodivergent is you got to do one thing at a time. Okay, too many tasks at one time is no bueno. So right now I'm handling one project along with all of my other obligations as a mother and an employee, and getting the message out that this is something to help with our youth is the goal right now. So I'm gonna come back as many times as you need if we talk about something else that you have some need some input or insight on. I'm here for it. We can even do things that you feel like you're interested in yourself within the book. If there's something that you're stuck on or want to, expand on and explore more, we can have that conversation as well, because that's what it's here for, to get to better understanding for ourselves.
Yes, I would love to do that. Hailey, do you got any projects you want to promote? And socials too, if you're comfortable with?
Honestly, I'm just focusing on me. I'm focusing on myself, my mental, and getting myself back into the environment again, like school and stuff like that. So it's a work in progress, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, just chilling.
Yeah.
Basically, we're looking forward again to school starting, with being uncomfortable or socially a little awkward, and I think because of all the things that has transpired during
being home for too long
and academics when she was in school and having those struggles, that it is a little bit more of you want to get in a better space before you go out there, but it's also important to get out there and just experience, right? So we're looking forward to that in the upcoming season, and also work experience. Once we create this community, we're hitting up and sharing her insight as an adult.
Oh my God.
Now that we've turned 21. Sharing her experience with others so that they can feel inclined to share theirs, so they can feel, comfortable enough that this is a real issue, and we're doing the best that we can to navigate.
Well, I hope this space was like a good space for you to be able to express yourselves, both of you.
I think so. I mean, honestly, this is. I think what you're doing is amazing. Yes.
Thank you.
Having these conversations, your questions were amazing. So I'm really excited to see where this goes and what more can come of it. And this space was definitely comfortable. Yeah. And talking about emotions and how to regulate and different methodologies to implement is my passion. So this is like a walk in the park.
Well, thank you both for coming. Like, I really appreciate it, and I hope this episode helps bring more sales and more promotion to the seed. And
Me too.
yeah, and I'm excited to see what future projects you have. You're gonna be making with the seed or with another book. And yeah.
Yes, we never know what's going to come, but this is definitely the foundation. So it's only going to continue to grow because I believe it's so highly necessary right now with where our state is in of answering and showing up and being present in our daily lives, and having this where you can take it in slowly and really reflect is what I think is going to really help and move us forward. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So thank you for listening. All links to support me and Elisabeth Rogers will be in the description. And remember, it's okay to be human. Do what's best for you, and remember to take care of yourself. Tune in next time where something new happens, and it definitely won't be boring. Bye-bye. You can say bye.
Bye.
Bye.